There's this one person that I still remember when I was in Pakistan. He never had Kentucky Fried Chicken before, KFC. In a city that has 3.5 million people, there is only one KFC store. And whenever the country had conflicts with the United States, the first place people would burn down in protest was KFC because it is a symbol of America. Only rich people go there once a year, whenever it's someone's birthday, or when they are throwing a feast. One piece of chicken is $3. And 1 month's salary is $5 usually. They can never have it. And he looked at me and asked, "Pastor, do you like chicken?" I said, "Chicken? I'll let it if it's there." He told me there was KFC and asked if I would like to eat there. He seemed a little disappointed because he asked again the following day after the seminar. And there were guards holding guns over there. So we eventually went to eat together, and it was 4 of us. 5 actually, which were the pastor who accompanied and 3 other brothers. And the food came out, but they wouldn't eat. I insisted, but they would not eat the food. And the person next to me said they are saving up for their wife and kids. They're saving it up. Why? Because they never had it before. When I heard this, I instantly repented before God. And I did kneel and repented that night. The next day after the seminar, I took everyone to KFC to treat them and bought them 1 more set of chicken on top of that afterward, adding double the amount of grace, so to speak. I told them to eat what they had and to take the extras home to their wife and kids. They started crying. They said never in their life had they eaten like this before. Grace was given to them. There are so many people lost in the streets. And they said, "I'm grateful for the grace of salvation already, but even more grateful for this grace upon grace." And they determined even more to give their lives to preach the gospel there. That's what they said. Give thanks to the Lord, who remembered us in our lowly state and rescued us from our enemies, who gives food to all flesh. Oh, give thanks to the God of heaven. We received every food, salvation, and everything from God. He saved a person like me and put me in church, the body of Christ. He made us enter the vineyard, and he gave us the chance to render back the grace for at least an hour. Is this labor or grace? Some people think of grace as labor. The moment you think this way, all the grace and thankfulness from God will disappear. Let's go to Romans. Romans chapter 4, verse 4. Now to him who works, the wages are not counted as grace but as debt. But to him who does not work but believes on him who justifies the ungodly, his faith is accounted for righteousness. Just as David also describes the blessedness of the man to whom God imputes righteousness apart from works. Blessed are those whose lawless deeds are forgiven and whose sins are covered. Blessed is the man to whom the Lord shall not impute sin. So in verse 4 it says, "Now to him who works, the wages are not counted as grace, but as what? As debt." So we do work, and when we work, do we receive the wage as grace or as debt? We can say that since we worked, we are right to receive the wage. So to a person who works, the wage is not grace, instead it is debt. So you all do work in the church, and you may think of it as receiving debt. And you ask like it should be given, you assert yourself, you demand a wage for the labor. That person has an inappropriate heart. The church is not a place of work. It is a place to render thanks for the grace. When you're filled with grace, the work that you do from it, is it a labor or another grace? Don't you know? The grace of salvation from God was not gained through our works. It says that to whom who does not work but believes on him who justifies the ungodly, his faith is accounted for righteousness. Without works, we were called righteous by God. Did you receive salvation through your works? No. Even after receiving the grace, just because we worked and endured a little bit, we say before God, God, why do you consider me like that person? We say something's wrong and call the righteous unrighteous. Then you become a lesser person. A person conducted a special experiment for a month. He set a specific boundary in a town, and he gave $100 to people in that area every day, no matter what. This continues for a month, and he observed the result. On the first day, he went around every house and placed $100 bill at the doorstep. At first, the people said, that guy is out of his mind, and they were hesitant to take the money. They took it. Second day, same reaction. And the third and fourth day went by, and people began to talk about the man who gave them money. They were marveled and thankful as well. By the time of the second week, everyone was waiting outside on the doorstep. They were waiting, looking towards the direction of the man and wondering when he would come. And this rumor spread to the neighboring town as well. In the third week, the people of the town no longer marveled at the man and the given money as well, nor they were thankful. Fourth week, receiving that $100 bill became a daily routine, just like eating meals, washing their faces, and going to work. They now thought of it as a natural right. On the last day of the experiment, the man did not give money, unlike usual, and just passed by the street of the town. He just passed by. And the problem began here. Something strange happened. The people in the town began to complain in anger. When they did not see the money, they slammed the door shut, and they came outside the doorstep and shouted, "Why are you not giving us the money?" They said, "I don't know your situation, but I need that $100 today." And they began to interrogate the man. Receiving the $100 bill became like a right. This was an actual experiment that was conducted. We receive God's grace and mercy and experience His righteousness daily and without price, freely. The air, the light, the water, and the ground that I am standing on, they all exist because of God's grace. My family, my job, my health, my wisdom, my church, and the Word of God were all given by God freely. He just gave them all. He accepted everything so that we can be saved. But we stand in front of Him as if that grace is the natural right that we can demand. And when the answer of grace is not received, we blame Him in complaints and we argue saying He is not righteous. But that is not true. The one who is not righteous is me, because I forgot the grace. I became the last. The people who just received salvation obey anything in God with joy and gratitude. But the last person, because they had to endure the cold and the hot, they think of grace as a right. But that's not true. The beginning is grace, and the end is also grace. This we must never forget in our lifetime. Let's go to 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 7. After that, he was seen by James, then by all the apostles, then last of all he was seen by me also as by one born out of due time. For I am the least of the apostles, who am not worthy to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church of God. But by the grace of God, I am what I am. And his grace toward me was not in vain, but I labored more abundantly than they all, yet not I, but the grace of God, which was with me. So how was Apostle Paul able to give his life to God till the end? I am what I am, yet not I, but through what? Through the grace of God. This was the key to his Christian life. I am what I am because of the grace of God. It says that he labored more abundantly than all the apostles. The person who labored more than the 12 disciples was Apostle Paul. The reason he could labor much more than other apostles, and the reason why he could give his all, was because of the grace of God. Why? Because I persecuted the church of God, he says. I have committed great sin before God. He saw how great the grace of salvation was, and because that grace was so precious to him, he is saying, because of that grace, I came this far, and it was not me myself. Forgetting those things which are behind, I press toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God. What does he mean by forgetting things that are behind? Before his death, he tells the church of Philippi that everything he did after salvation was not him. It was grace. That's why he is forgetting his deeds. If you say, I did this, this, and that, what would God say? Are you saying that I am wicked? That's what he's going to say. The first will be the last. And that is true. And the last will be made first. The one who remained the same from beginning till the end was Jesus. It is so rare to see a person living by the grace upon grace given by God from the first grace of salvation. It's so rare and so hard to find those people. The same goes for me, actually. Even the smallest things upset me. Strange, isn't it? The smallest things make me want to reveal myself, and my conscience knows that. Every small chance we get, we want to be assertive, but if you close your eyes and pray, you can say, how wicked, how filthy. Don't you know that everything is by the grace of God? That's how we can forget about our past boastings and be thankful. We are compelled to think about the grace given from the early morning, and we can use the fact that our works are also by grace as a means to move forward. Without the grace, there are only complaints, arguments, and collisions. Those are made last. From our birth, we brought nothing into this world. As time passes, we realize that life is barren. There's nothing to take from it. When people get their first job, they're happy with the fact that they can work. And they bear low salaries and positions solely by the fact that they can work. And they don't mind the bad work environment. Starting, they're just thankful for the given work. But as time passes by, they grow mundane. They forget the thankfulness of having to work. They form work unions, grow their power, and go against their companies. That is how the world works. They form unions. Their own people. That's the world. And that is the people of the world. We cannot be like that. And what do they do at the end? They have headbands around their heads and they negotiate their salary with the CEO. How absurd is this world? Parents raise their children and feed them. And when they are little, they look for their mom. Mommy, where are you? They look for them. And without their mom, they cry overnight. No matter how many candies you give them, you cannot calm them down. And when the mom comes, they sniff and cry, saying, "Where were you, Mom? Don't ever leave me again." But as they grow older, they say, "Mom, please don't bother me. Go away, not right now. I'm leaving this house." They say this when they grow, when they have more strength. With your own knowledge, they do this. "Mom, don't you know this? This is a smartphone. You have to do this." "Mom, it says you have a text message." "Message? What message?" Mom say that they don't know. They don't know. "Mom, that's not the right way to use it." And they scold out of frustration. Alright, when you were little, I sat you down and taught you A, B, C, D, and how to say mom and dad. There's no way I can know this smartphone thing. So can you please teach me, remembering how I taught you when you were a little boy? When you gain knowledge and ability, you forget that grace and look down upon it. That is human and that is life. That's how far humans can go. When they forget the grace, everything becomes bothersome, and they do the work with complaints. And when the parents pass away, they regret. Don't be mistaken thinking what you have will always be there. There will be times when your brethren leave your side. God will take them from you. Why? Because the reason why He put them by your side is to give you grace, not for you to complain. Did anyone sign a contract with God when they were born into this world? Has anyone made a yearly contract with Him? No, the Master signed the contract for us. Without the Lord's promise, we cannot last a single day. When you came into this world, did you make a contract with God? Were you born having some special rights? No. We were simply received life and our body, and also the salvation of our spirit while we were living. My body and my circumstance were all grace given by God. In the middle of that prosperity, if you forget that grace, you will begin to demand like it's your right. Those people are the ones made last. Those who are last will be made first. Listen, my beloved brethren, has God not chosen the poor of this world to be rich in faith and heirs of the kingdom which He promised to those who love Him? Has He not chosen the poor of this world to be rich in faith and heirs of the kingdom which He promised to those who love Him? Even when born-again Christians are despised and looked down upon in this world, in the Lord they rejoice and give thanks for the fact that a person like myself have received salvation. So the more they are despised and hated, the more they give thanks through that. They give thanks. Same for me. God saved a person like me, made me enter His grace, allowed me to have fellowship with the brethren, partake in His ministries, and gave me the chance to spread the gospel together. For this I am truly thankful. If I lose my eyesight tonight, I'm done. I can't do this even if I want to. If I break my legs, I can't come to church, right? If my intestines have problems, I can't eat. Even if I want to go on visitations, I can't. When I open my eyes, I thank God for this day. He gave me to preach this sermon on Sunday. I am truly grateful for this grace. God, I thank You for giving me the chance to comfort the weak, the poor, and the lowly together. I don't know when I will go to You, but God, please help these poor souls, the poor widows, orphans, and all the people going through hardships in this foreign land. Those who are trembling in fear before You and are chained by the laws. You have called the souls who only have an hour left on this earth, so please bestow Your grace on them. And every work is the grace of God. We just thank God who gave grace upon us based on His faithful promises. was to the people who didn't work that much. We have to thank him for keeping his word faithfully. And just by the fact that he accepted me and used me, we have to thank him for giving us what we need according to his righteousness. And thank him by the fact that I only worked for about an hour, but he received me with more abundant grace and grace. And God is telling us, I never did anything wrong towards you. As I promised, I gave you all the grace. Is there any unjust in me? I never was hypocritical towards you.